Hello, folks. Welcome back to my channel. This is the world of TV shows, and I have gotten another episode review for you of Cold Case. And this time, we'll be looking at the 11th episode of the very first season of the show called Hubris. The episode originally aired on January 11, 2004 on CBS. It was directed by Agnieszka Holland. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing this right. And it was written by Kim Newton as well as Stacy Kravitz. So in this episode, the plot is kind of a little bit more kind of out there, more a little bit, kind of darker, a darker theme, a little bit more twisted, and this is actually the 11th episode of the show. This is the one to take place right after, the holidays, it's January, the new year, right? So this is when the show kind of resumes, right? So the show is more established, I guess. There's more, obviously, we're getting used to a lot of different cold cases and all of them dealing with a lot of different things. This one is actually dealing with a young woman, a college girl who was killed in a pretty brutal fashion, right? And basically, there's something about the way her body was placed. There's something specific about it. And this woman had some kind of an affair, with her professor at the university where she went, right? So basically, the professor, of course, was the main suspect for a while, and he was accused of having done that. So things kind of went downhill for him, and he ends up, having a different kind of teaching job. I'll let you find out for yourselves what it is. But yeah, it's a pretty how could I say, it's down step, from where he was before because of this whole scandal that kind of ruined and jeopardized his career. So this professor asks the detectives to basically help clear his name, if I'm not mistaken, because he would like to. There's a possibility of him, getting his old job back. So he jumps at the occasion. And basically, there's another woman who was found killed in pretty much her body. The way her body was placed was very similar to that first woman, to the college girl, right? And this is something, it's I don't want to spoil it too much or anything, but needless to say that the term Ophelia comes to mind. For those of you who have watched it, you know what I'm talking about. I don't want to give too much away, but this is pretty much how it goes. So the detectives are pretty kind of, I guess you could say, reluctant, and they're kind of suspicious of this professor's, true involvement in this whole case that went down all these years ago. They believe that he might actually be guilty, but then the evidence is gonna suggest that another person might have committed the murder, and maybe these murders could be linked as well, right? And they believe that it could be a serial killer or some kind of a copycat, right? So this is pretty much how the plot of the episode goes. I'm very happy because I believe that I kind of made myself clear enough, and I told you all about it, more or less, the main plot, that is, without spoiling too much or anything. So I'm pretty sure that this is enough for as far as the plot is concerned. So let's move on to the actors pretty quick, and then we'll wrap this up. So we have Catherine Morris, Danny Pino, John Finn, Jeremy Ratchford, as well as Tom Berry. Those are the main actors, as you know, right? And then we have Jeffrey Nordling, who plays Roy Minard, or Minard, I'm not sure, who is the professor, right? Who's a pretty good actor, who did a pretty good job, I have to admit. And then we have Josh Hopkins, who plays 88 Jason Kite. Right, 88 Jason Kite in this episode is going to come back, and, him and Lily are going to kind of, reconnect, and, something is going to happen. I'll let you find out for yourselves what it is, but basically, yes, there might be a little something, but I'll let you find out for yourselves because I don't want to spoil the episode too much or anything. But he was pretty much of a good. He was, well, I don't know if he was that helpful, but yeah, basically Lily went to him to try and help with the case that she's working on, and you'll find out for yourselves whether he's able to help or not that much, or a little bit, or something like that. I'll let you find out for yourselves. Then we have Larry Brandenburg, who plays Mike Richardson, who is the father of the deceased, the first woman who was found dead in 1995, if I'm not mistaken, right? So he was pretty good. He was the grieving father who believes that the professor is the guilty one, and he does not really understand why the detectives would open up this old case, believing that they already know the identity of his daughter's killer. And then we have Caitlin Doubleday, who plays Holly Richardson, who is the victim, who is the woman I was telling you about, the one who had a skin scandalous affair with her professor at university, right? She's not good at all. And basically, she was basically the victim, right? And the way she was killed, there's a scene involving a car antenna with, some flogging. Yes, it was pretty much, it takes place at night. I didn't mention too much about the murder, but yeah, it's pretty graphic, right? So if you haven't watched it, yes, and you're about to, that's just a little heads up, word of advice, not for the faint of heart. Then we have Robert Lesordo, who plays Jesus Torres, and Robert Lesordo was in a lot of other TV shows, mostly as the criminal. He's a pretty good actor. I really enjoyed him, and in this episode, he played a part in something that happened. I'll let you find out for yourselves because I don't want to spoil too much or anything. But yeah, he's part of the episode, and it was a little bit funny, the scenes with his broken English, and him trying to express himself at the best of his ability. Yeah, that was interesting. Then we have Lisa Dean Ryan, who plays Barbara Karis, who was at the university, if I'm not mistaken, who was one of the girls who basically, who's, let's just say that her and the professor, there's a little something there, right? But you better face what it is. I don't want to spoil the episode too much or anything. Then we have Blake Shields, who plays Barry Tepler, who is, who is a little bit, who was a suspect too, because he might have had a thing for Holly. And needless to say that Barry Tepler is a little bit, kind of, a little disturbed, so to speak, and you'll find out for yourselves exactly what is his condition. But yeah, could he have done that or not? It's possible he could have, after having been rejected, he might have he might have done something not really savory, right? Then we have Elizabeth Greer, who plays Monique. We have Stacey Arnold, who plays Trish. Mary Kathleen Gordon plays Susan Richardson. E.J. Callahan plays Archie, who was this pawn shop owner, if I'm not mistaken, worker. At some point, something happens, some thing relevant to the case, something might have been pawned off, which could help in their investigation, right? So after that, we have Ray Buffer, who plays police detective, and last but not least, Tressa Pope, who plays Greta. And those are the main actors and actresses. I got the top cast list from IMDb if you would like to check it out, but I really enjoyed it. My favorite, I really enjoyed all of their performances. I mean, my favorite ones being Jeffrey Nordling, as well as Josh Hopkins, and Caitlin Doubleday, as well as Robert Losardo. All three of them did a pretty awesome job in this episode. I really enjoyed their performances. So if I were to rate this episode on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd definitely give it a solid 8 out of 10. It was pretty good. And yeah, pretty kind of, a crazy case, with this, bad affair having taken place, and whether the woman, was kind of involved in whether she had it coming or not is something that, most people would basically be asking themselves about, and whether this was whether the professor is involved or not, the other growing list of suspects that is there, so many questions, not a lot of answers. But as you watch it, as you go through it, as you reach the end, you'll find out for yourselves exactly, you'll get the answers you had about this case and this very crazy case. So if I were to rate this episode on a scale, I'm Am I repeating myself? Did I already give it a rating? Well, let me do it again then. If I were to rate this episode on a scale from 1 to 10, I'd definitely give it a solid 8 out of 10. It was a pretty good episode for what it was. A little bit, you know, wild, on the wild side, a little bit crazy, a little bit, the victim is not entirely somebody who might get a lot of love from the viewers, but nevertheless, this is a murder, and this should be treated as a murder case and reopened as a cold case. So, yeah, you gotta do what you gotta do. But yeah, 8 out of 10 for me because it was a good episode. It was enjoyable. And the snow at some point, it started snowing. It was beautiful as well in Philadelphia at night. And, this was a good episode for what it was. So 8 out of 10 for me for this episode. What about you folks? What did you think about this episode? Hubris. By the way, hubris is a word which means some kind of pride or self-confidence. As I can see here, it says excessive pride or self-confidence. Quote, right? I was quoting from Google. But yeah, this is what it says. So it's interesting too, since I didn't really know what it meant, and I just checked it out. So this was hubris for you. So what about you folks? What do you think about this episode? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Let me know in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching. In the meantime, I'll see you in the next review. Goodbye, take care, stay safe. This is the World of TV Show signing off.